So we came across some unsettling news regarding a couple batteries here in Canada.
Yeah, apparently a young gentleman down in Vancouver, BC, went on a trip to the interior around here, and he tried to avoid something on the road. He believed he missed it, so he went on his merry way. Charged it multiple times and everything, and then went back home and he decided he needed to check it out at Hyundai. Well, unfortunately, they checked it out, said that his battery was damaged, and they were quoting him over $61,000 to replace it.
$61,000. That sounds like a hefty bill. I think we need to check out this story in depth a little bit.
I think we do.
Shall we go?
Let's go. Hey, I'm Colin.
And I'm Chris.
And you're watching Amped Up Sibs. So how does $61,000 sound to for replacing a battery on your Hyundai Ioniq?
That's a hefty price.
Yeah, considering it only cost $55,000 to purchase brand new.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. You're obviously not going to pay the money to replace it. You're just going to get a new car if money allows. So let's look at some of these costs and some of the things that happen specifically with the BC Ioniq 5 owner.
Yeah.
Now, I believe the BC Ioniq 5 owner never contacted Hyundai initially.
No, he did not.
They went right to the dealership.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they were quoted $61,000 and some change. Now, the price of the battery, according to Hyundai's website, would be $56,650. And there's also a part number that we can show you if you want to look it up yourself as well. So $56,000 plus labor comes to that whopping $61,000.
That's a lot of money to swallow for a car that cost him initially $55,000.
That's a lot of money.
Because you got to remember, this was the two-wheel drive long-range version, so it does have the slightly bigger battery.
Slightly bigger battery, yeah,
but
exactly. But still, that's too much, and that's really going to scare away a lot of people interested in getting into the market.
Yeah.
What if something goes wrong?
And to compare it, like something we've looked at to do a Tesla battery.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is American dollars. I don't know the Canadian because nobody in Canada is releasing it. But it'll cost you anywhere from $13,000 to $20,000 for a Model S battery replacement, and they can refurbish the batteries and sell you a refurbished battery at a lower price.
At a lower price, yeah. Exactly.
Hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I sympathize with them, and I sympathize with anybody that's going to have to deal with this. Now, fortunately, in all of the Ioniq 5s and in all of the battery-powered cars, the electric cars that we've seen, these are the only two cases that have come up. So there's a BC case and an East Coast case.
Yeah.
These are the only two, which is actually pretty low.
Yeah.
So odds of this happening to you are going to be very slim. And now that it's happened to somebody else, there's going to be some solutions to it. So let's look at what happened in BC's case. Then we'll look at the East Coast case.
Sure.
So BC first, eh?
Sure. So the driver was driving to the interior, as I've stated before, and tried to avoid something in the road. He thought he didn't feel a bang, a bump, or anything. Carried on, went to his local fast charging, no issues. No warning lights on the dash. Everything's checked out fine. He kept driving around, came back home, decided that, because he did avoid that, he thought he didn't hit it, but he thought, well, better to check it out. Took it to the dealer, and they said that the safety pan, protective pan, is scratched, and that it's dented, and that the battery is dented. But my thing is they even admitted that they didn't take the protective shield off to check the battery. So how do they know precisely that it was dented? Yeah.
Obviously they would have assumed, I guess.
Yeah,
if they didn't remove the case, the shroud. Shroud's dented, they assume the battery was dented, I suppose.
Yeah. But
so
one mistake he did make, though, he didn't go to Hyundai Canada right away.
Right away, yeah.
Because all the dealerships are independently owned. They are not actually part of Hyundai Canada.
Yeah.
You got to remember that all dealerships, even any other ones, are not part of the main manufacturer. They are the retailers for the manufacturers. So the process has been updated and changed, as we'll talk about later, but
Yes.
it has changed to hopefully improve this situation.
Yeah. So, of course, the car was written off.
Yeah, he took
shortly after.
He took it to ICBC because he could not afford the $61,000 bill. And ICBC, for people who don't know, is our insurance corporation of British Columbia. We are a government-run insurance. We don't have the independence that we can easily go to. And they took it into a body shop, a qualified body shop, and they've currently took the case off and said it was dented. So then ICBC said, well, we got to replace the battery. Well, then they contacted Hyundai, the dealer. They didn't do Canada again. And the dealer quoted them the $61,000. And they said, sorry, we have to write this off.
Yep.
A big downside to this is now this driver, because he's written it off, loses his safe driving.
Oh, that's a huge one, yeah.
So his price now more than doubles what he was normally paying. And if you live in BC, you know how expensive our insurance can be when you don't have the safe driving records.
Yep. Safe driving is super important to keep.
Yeah.
Now, before he took it into the shop, if I'm not mistaken, he kept driving it.
Yes, he did.
So he drove it several days. He charged the vehicle after it was damaged in a level 2 charger. On the car, there were no dash warnings. And with no dash warnings, you can kind of assume things are going good. Hyundai Canada backs this up with, if there's no warnings on the dash, they say that their battery is fine and things are good to keep driving to use.
Yeah.
So another thing that indicates that there was no problems, or initially no serious problems, was the car is connected and sends a monthly update with status reports, etc. And the status report came back completely clean after this damage had occurred. So that's an interesting system, whether it was faulty or whether the system doesn't read impacted batteries. I don't know, but that could be something to investigate as well, the procedures of these status reports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did get in contact with Central Canada eventually. They talked to him about maybe possibly buying another Hyundai and all that, and he's of course on the fence with it. I don't blame him.
Don't blame him.
And then there's been a couple messages going back and forth, and he finally got an update from Hyundai Canada saying that the battery wasn't just damaged, that it had actually ruptured the cooling system, which is a little hard to understand without this system telling you this happened. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Yeah, and with a ruptured cooling system, to me, that's a system that's going to send all sorts of alarms everywhere in the car.
Yeah, and you got to remember, each of these packs, like they have little modules each in them, they can be individually replaced and taken care of, and the cooling systems are set to each individual module within the pack. So it's not like a cooling system goes to the whole thing; it goes to each individual pack, or not pack, module.
Yeah,
and so you'd think instead of replacing the whole pack, that Hyundai could have repaired it.
Yeah. Now that's something we can kind of talk about as well, because after all of these incidences, I'm sure Hyundai Canada is looking at, well, people are going to shy away if my battery costs more than my car to replace. And whether or not it actually does, it's hard to say. Manufacturers probably don't make just one single module to replace it with. So there could be difficulties in actually getting the replacement parts right now.
Yeah.
And that's why Hyundai Canada has talked about opening a plant in North America.
Yep.
To kind of combat the cost of the battery, but also combat the non-repairability, if that's a word, to the battery. So hopefully being able to bring down cost of batteries, but also bring down the cost of repairing a battery and make it not a write-off every single time somebody damages it.
Yeah, because you also got to remember, like Volkswagen, they actually can repair their battery pack. So if you dent one of the modules in there, they can actually take it out and replace it and have everything equalized and have it all working again. So
Yep.
this is something hopefully Hyundai will look into.
Yeah. I think that kind of covers BC's one.
BC now, yeah.
We're going to look at the East Coast one, but before we do, I just want to mention that a lot of our information came from other YouTube sources and things that have been posted on the internet. There's a lot of information out there because it's a pretty big deal.
It is.
Of course, Global News and other news sites have it. You sent me the YouTube,
Yep.
Motormouth,
Yep.
and they have a great video to watch, and I'll put that in our description. It's definitely worth watching.
As they had the interview with this BC
Yeah.
driver personally, so they actually have a little more in-depth info on that as well.
Yeah, and I think they also talked to the East Coast user.
They did.
And so,
she wanted to stay anonymous,
yes.
but they do have her written testimony and stuff of what happened and stuff,
Yeah.
and, which we're going to actually review a little bit here in a second or two.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the East Coast Ioniq 5 owner. Well, I'll let you start off, Colin.
Yeah. Well,
Multiple dealerships and that sort of thing. But
yes.
First thing, after the damage, sorry, I said I'll let him take over, and then I'm just right in there. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yeah, so what happened was she, of course, hit something in the road. They claim it to be actually part of a muffler system from another car. It had actually impacted the cover, but it wasn't just impacted, it was scratched, and it actually had puncture marks in it. So it's a little more obvious that there's a little more damage going on here.
And
so
people around her apparently said that they noticed her hit something or something happened. So that kind of backs up, yeah, there was a little bit more damage to it.
Yeah, and she did take it to the dealer, but first she actually went to Hyundai Canada.
Yeah.
But the problem is Hyundai Canada said, go to the dealer and deal with them. They didn't want, at that point, seem to want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So she did do that. She went to actually multiple dealerships, and they all quoted the exact same price as we've just told you in the previous one.
Or very
similar.
close.
Yeah. And, well, it's been an ongoing battle. She has still an open case with Hyundai because being in Ontario, they have private insurance. So she didn't have to give it up right away and write it off. So she's, of course, not leaving her name and stuff, and we respect that as well. But yeah, same thing with her. The impact hit. She had no warnings on the dash.
No warnings.
Everything checked out fine. Went to the dealer, and the actual mechanic there actually did a nice video of the underside of the vehicle and shows the dents and marks. So
which you can see on Motormouth's YouTube video.
Their second video actually was the
second video, yeah.
So you should see that just to have that verified, so you see what exactly happened.
Yeah, and what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so multiple dealerships, same price. Now, Hyundai Canada said that the dealerships have been misquoted and that each of the dealerships are independent dealers.
Yeah.
So if they're misquoted, what's the actual price? I mean, I think we're still waiting on information about that one. I don't know if you've heard anything extra.
I haven't heard anything extra, but the Hyundai website for Hyundai in Ontario, I can't remember the exact town it was from, but I could put a link to it, shows the price still at $56,650 for that battery pack if you were to buy it yourself, retail.
Yeah. So yeah, is it misquoted? Is it not misquoted? What does that actually mean? And what's going to be the actual price? Now, of course, it's going to take some time for Hyundai to figure out this situation, and they want to resolve it before they make any huge judgments or changes.
Yeah.
But right now, that kind of scares people away
from the electric cars, and I truthfully don't blame them.
Don't blame them, yeah.
But this is just Hyundai, so it doesn't mean that every other one is the exact same, because some of the others do have their own battery manufacturing places within North America. So like Volkswagen.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So if you have an Ioniq 5 right now, try your best not to damage the battery in the near future until they figure this out.
Avoid any obstacles as much as possible, because unfortunately they are a little on the lower side for some SUVs.
Yeah.
Not bad, but just be a lot more careful out there when you're driving.
Exactly. I think that's all the information that I have.
That's all I have until we get more updates and hear from Hyundai Canada.
Hyundai Canada, yeah. All right, well, we'll sign off here. See you later, A. And
Thanks for watching.
thanks for watching.